Alrighty everybody, welcome to our third video in developing mobile applications in behavioral science. In our last video, what we did was we just got used to the overall interface of Visual Studio, but we didn't really get too much into actually fiddling with any of our options here. So that's what this video is going to explore a bit. We're going to create a project. Well, we're going to start creating a project, and then we're going to review the different possible project types, and then we're going to go ahead and pick one. So our first step in doing this is we either go and select a new project from this start page that usually loads up whenever you start Visual Studio, or we go to File. I tend to always go to File because this may close sometimes, so I just go here. So we want to make a new project. Visual Studio will let you do like a ton of different things, but usually whenever I make something new, it's always a project. And in here, you'll see that there are just like tons of different languages to choose from. It can be a little bit overwhelming at times because there's so many options, but for the most part, we're going to use a language called Visual C#. And Visual C# is a very useful language because it has a lot of possibilities to compile down to a type of format that you could potentially run on Mac, on Linux, on Windows. So a little bit of a Swiss Army knife language. So that's what we're going to use here. There are a lot of different options to use C# for. There's regular Windows games, some web-based things, some cloud things, some gaming things, and a bunch of other things in here. But for the most part, for our purposes, since we're thinking we'd want to do Apple and Android and all that other stuff, we're going to go to cross-platform. And you'll see in here that there's a lot of different options for this whole Xamarin suite of projects. Now, Xamarin has a couple different types of setups it could use. If you ever wanted to make an application specific to a platform, you could choose to just do like a native project that would just make it less cross-platform in the sense that you could pick it up and move it to a different one, but it would be cross-platform in the way that it'd be written in C#, which is very similar. It would be the same language across apps. We don't really want that. What we're really looking for is a Xamarin Forms app. And Xamarin Forms is it's an interface that lets us put together code and views and layouts. And what it does is behind the scenes, it'll turn that Xamarin Forms code into what Apple wants and what Android would want. So that's what we're going to work on. You'll see that in each of these, it looks like there's a portable one and a shared one. And to be completely honest, a lot of decisions here are really going to amount to taste. I prefer the portable types of projects as opposed to the shared. And it really comes down to where you want to write your code for all these projects. Do you want to have the Apple and Android stuff all together in a shared project using things like compiler directives, or do you really want things to kind of have a home specific in individual projects? And I tend to like the portable types of projects because I think it's cleaner. I want the Apple stuff to stay with Apple stuff. I want the Android stuff to stay with the Android stuff, as opposed to having them all together in one big crazy file. So that's what I'm going to go with. Now you'll see that if we're going to start with portable, we still have two options here. And at this point, the same decision stands. We're really making a decision based on taste. A blank app would be, your program would be put together by standard C# programming code, which is my preference because it's just the thing I'm more familiar with. The other option is a XAML app, and that is a very common Windows markup language. So where in a blank app you would write something with a single line of C# code, a XAML app would have a markup file, which I guess the closest, most simplistic example I would give is it'd be almost akin to how a website might use HTML to make a layout. So I feel like this is a bit more verbose. So I usually prefer to use a blank app. So we're going to select this one for now. And at this point, once we select what we wanted, we want to give it a name. And I'll call this Mobile Application Tutorial Video 3. I caution you not to put any spaces in these. It tends to bug out if there's spaces. So I gave it a title. It's locational based. This is usually the default location. And this will be the name of solution. That Windows calls project solutions. So that's just what that is. I tend to click both of these. So it'll make a home for it, and it'll initialize a Git, even if you're not using it yet. Let's just have you click that for now, and then we'll hit OK. What we're seeing now is Visual Studio is creating individual projects. So you'll see over here, there's our portable class, which is going to have all the code we do. And there's also going to be individual classes that are for, say, Droid, Apple iOS, older Windows like Windows 8.1, and then Windows Phone and Windows 10 Plus, or Universal Windows projects. We'll get into that a little bit into the next video, since we're going a bit long. So I'm going to let all of these projects get built, and then we'll check in our next video. Alrighty.